Hi, this is MM209, and today I'm going to show you striders in my strategy for high-scoring WindUp on Endless. First, I'm going to show you our basic setup here. We use Wind Belt, Stone Staff, Tar, Spring Trap, Spike Wall, Grinder, Vampire Gauntlets, Acid Sprayer, Web Spitter, Scorcher, Steam Vent, and Barricades. This strategy is not quite like the 50 million strat we used, but it ends up working a lot better. So our basic setup is going to be to use a spike wall over here in place of a push trap. Put some tar down here, and get a spring trap against our wall. It's going to throw mobs into the steam vent, and then steam vent's going to throw them up into the grinder. The basic strategy is very much like a push trap physics abuse strategy, only instead of a push trap, we're using a spike wall to stun. Not much interesting happens during the first wave, so I'm going to skip ahead to show you some of the good stuff. Okay, so here we are rejoined on wave 2, where you can see we are going to complete our kill box by adding a Scorcher like so, and we're going to add web spinners above the tar under the spike wall. With this kill box complete, you can get 15s, although not very reliably. I would expect across an Endless to see at least a few of them. I believe we got them maybe at least 5 when we did this run, although I'm not really sure. You can definitely see that it's already comboing much better. Most of the combos are going to be now at least 10 to 12s, with a decent number of 13s and occasional 14s and hopefully 15s. Your biggest aversion to high scoring here is going to be if your grinder jams, which I'll show you in later waves how to deal with. Alright, I'm going to move ahead again to show you the next most important thing in our setup. Okay, now that our basic kill box is complete, the next most important thing is adding survivability. Not dying increases your score quite a bit. So as you can see, we've placed 2 grinders against this wall on the right up here, and we're going to put more grinders down here. You can do 4 on each side down here. And we're adding in barricades to channel all the mobs past those grinders. This way, no mobs can enter our kill box without going past the half-high grinders. Now, half-high is important because you don't want to kill small mobs, just big mobs with them. Eventually, you'll put 2 barricades down below where the other 4 grinders were, kind of in the middle, to force the mobs to either go to the left or to the right of the barricades. Really, it doesn't matter which way they go, they just want to make sure they don't go down the center where the grinders can miss them. The 2 grinders we put up in front there is not going to be enough filtering, so you'll see that as we get to later waves, we're going to extend it all the way down to the end of the hallway into the corner, where they'll have to walk past a lot more grinders. Now, if you watch carefully during this next sequence, you'll see that our grinder is going to jam during this push. Now, grinder is kind of important for scoring, so what you want to do is not panic and use your wind belt to blow these mobs back over the barricades so they have to walk all the way down and then back up. This will help your score quite a bit, as having your grinder jam will lead to not only getting lower scoring, but having a bunch of mobs live down under your grinder. Since your kill box is pretty close to the rift, you don't want to give them much opportunity to walk in. So I really recommend using your wind belts to blow them back over the barricades so they walk all the way back around. If you don't have these barricades, there's a good chance you're already dead by this point, since without those barricades there's really no control of big mobs, and they'll just kind of overrun you, especially on elemental waves. So very important things. Those barricades help you not only for filtering, but for allowing you to wind belt these small mobs back out to give your grinder a chance to cool down. And this is going to start the beginning of wave 27, which will be our last complete wave, after which we will get overrun on wave 28. Now, you've basically seen our setup here. Mostly the key things you need to keep in mind is that you'll see with our flamethrower placement, it actually ends up getting us killed on wave 28. The problem is that small mobs can get thrown in there, and since it's very close to the rift, they can kind of walk up on it, and it'll just kind of throw them right into the rift. Now, this may seem like a critical flaw, but there's really no other place you could put the flamethrowers and have them combo effectively. We tried putting it between the tar and the spring trap, but that tends to cause the mobs to get flipped back into your spike wall area and not get comboed correctly. So unfortunately, it's kind of a dangerous strategy here, but you just got to pay really close attention and make sure that the small mobs don't get up on top of the flamethrowers. To help do this, because the spike wall itself is a too wide trap, you really want to do is, when you're wind belting them, is wind belt them tight against the wall so they get thrown in a cluster tight against the wall. If you let them get kind of thrown out, there's a chance that they won't get thrown up by the steam vents and they can kind of just walk right into the rift. So you really got to pay attention for that, otherwise you'll get a lot of leaks. At this point too, you can see that we also added in some redundant damage. If you get in these later waves, especially 20 plus, DPS starts to become a problem. Because we're using unleveled traps, the grinder tends to end up doing a lot of work and jams up a lot, so anything you can do to increase DPS at this point is worth it. I mean, those Scorchers up there aren't terribly effective, but there's really not much else you can do up here, so it's better than not having them. And this will be our final wave. We're going to get overrun on this wave. See a couple knolls around here. Things look okay on this map, but it can go really wrong fast if you let big mobs get up into your kill box. So it's best to try and take them out in advance when possible. What actually caused our death here was that there was a breach in our barricades and we didn't notice it, so we kind of didn't repair it, and the big mobs were not forced to go around and go through all our filter. So in the end, we had too much big stuff up front and kind of got us killed. As you can see here, we're low on mana, and that mob just got flipped into the rift.